Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. We're on the Raid Shadow Legends test server, thanks to Plarium as always. And today, we're going to be checking out the Lady Mikage fusion. As you can see as well, guys, it is actually live on the test server. This should be live in-game today. This is what you need to do it. And honestly, this isn't too bad. So we need Lockwayne, a regular epic, Weregren, I think he's called, a relatively new Void epic. Those can actually be fused from Void rares and then regular rares, so that's not too bad. Then you need two legendaries as well. We're actually going to fuse up Tatsu. I don't have either of these myself. We're going to fuse up Tatsu, excuse me, and see if that will remove Tatsu, or like, can I keep fusing her? I think once we fuse her once, it's going to be gone. But Tatsu and Kira, and again, to fuse up these champions, you simply need these epics. I think it's interesting, right? We had a guaranteed sort of, no, it's a champion training event for Tatsu recently. So you maybe have Tatsu from that. And this would probably be the best way to use it. They do need to be 6-star and fully ascended, so that is quite expensive. I don't know how many points in CVC off the top of my head you get for a mythical, but like fusing up a legendary, getting them up to level 60 and 6-star ascended, that's actually a ton of CVC points. And then getting the mythical and probably ascending them as well. So basically doing all of this fusing during a CVC is likely to really give you a massive boost in personal rewards if you want to. Let's do this. So hopefully I have them leveled up enough. They're all at random levels. Fuse costs 1 million. Let's go. Let's fuse Tatsu here in the test server. We'll see what happens. I am curious. And then we're going to do a showcase as well, of course, of Lady Mikage, in case I didn't say that. Yeah, and it's gone, right? So it's gone. So you can fuse these once, and they're gone. After that, you do need to pull them. Is it worth holding on to Tatsu or Kira the Watcher instead of Lady Mikage? The answer, very quickly, is no. It's definitely a no for me on initial testing. They're not bad legendaries. They're both sort of mediocre, more early game legendaries, whereas I think Lady Mikage is going to be really good. But let's do the showcase now, and let's find out, shall we? So, what is the Lady Mikage all about? Well, she's mythical, so she's got her two forms. In form number 1, she comes in with increased attack, increased crit damage, then a full ally attack on a 4-turn. On a 3-turn, she has an AoE attack that decreases enemy buffs and ally debuffs, and increases enemy buffs and ally buffs. And then her A1 brings in a random Shadowkin for an ally attack. This is actually a very strong skill set. Very, very strong, especially for PvE content. So I think for Clan Boss, in like a killable type team. Let me actually find an example for you. Okay, so to give you like one example, right? This is a killable Clan Boss team from my boy YST. It's called Froggy the Frog if you want to check it out. It's from 2 years ago, right? I think it is the most viewed video on his channel. But in this team, essentially the core of how it works, right, is that you've got these really powerful defensive buffs like Ally Protection, Brogni Shields, Strengthen from Lydia. Godseeker is there not really for the healing, not really for the revive, but because of the buff extension, right? You could use a Sandlash Survivor, Krisk, etc., right? These buff extenders come in, and they let you keep your buffs up all the time and build a really good team. What I think Lady Mikage could do in those teams, I don't have one built for this video, but it's something that I'm sure I might do that. I might give it a go. Maybe that could be fun. I'm sure all the other content creators will. They're usually much more interested in Clan Boss than I am. But not only does she bring the buff extension, but extending enemy debuffs is going to be very strong with poison and just generally keeping decreased defense weaken up all the time. And she also brings ally attack with increased attack as well to that team too, which is great. So compared to Godseeker in this team, who is bringing decent damage, right, and extending the buffs, the healing not really needed, Lady Mikage is going to be, yeah, making the enemy, doing the buff extension, but also enemy debuffs worse, plus an ally attack. Plus, if you got a Shadowkin, like in this team, Taragi the Frog, every time she does an A1, she's going to bring him in for a nice A1, even more damage. So very strong. And the shield buff actually is going to be useful too if the shield buff falls off. So that's pretty cool. She also removes all debuffs and ally the highest attack. I wonder if you could use that to make stuff easily affinity friendly, like cleansing off the stun and stuff. Maybe that seems difficult. Again, I'm not a Clan Boss expert at all. I just became a content creator. By the time I became a content creator, Like Clan Boss had really been beaten effectively. She also has a second form, so you can switch over with the Metamorph skill. This has a 4-turn cooldown in each form. So you switch over and you instantly get an extra turn. This is a bit of a downside because your buffs do fall off, right? What does she do in her second form? Well, she puts out increased accuracy, then does a full buff strip on the enemies and puts out a weaken on them as well. That has a 4-turn cooldown. She has an AoE stun that pushes back turn meter with a 3-turn cooldown, then an A1 sleep that pushes back turn meter, and then her passive, she pushes back the enemy at the highest attack, their turn meter, by 15%. So lots of turn meter control and buff strips. I think very powerful for things like Arena. Also got an 80 accuracy in all battles aura. So how have I built her? Well, I think there's a lot of variety. Like, if I jump in, I'm just curious to steal some of YST's content here. I'm curious what sort of speed he was running Godseeker at. So this Godseeker, like, you can see she's coming in pretty fast. Do we have the total stats here? Do I have to manually add it up? He probably did. There we go. Like, Godseeker and his comp. Wait, did I flick? I flicked past it too fast. 256. I actually think this is, roughly speaking, the sweet spot as well. For Lady Mikage. I think generally speaking, you're going to want to build her over 256 speed. I actually, as a bit of an arena focus, have built her really fast. So for me, this is how I built her. Tanky enough, 310 speed. I put her really quick. Why? And really high accuracy. Why have I done that? Well, what I want her to do is come in early in the arena, switch over into Form 2, increase accuracy, then do a buff strip. Because she's going to be one of the best buff strippers in the game, right? With increased accuracy buff and ignoring 20% resistance, basically no one has any chance of resisting this. Even with increased resistance, I think she probably still is able to easily buff strip everybody, which is potentially really good. Could open things up for bomb champions and the like, which I think is pretty darn cool. So I wanted her to be fast, to be faster than my lockout, so we could test that out. I put her with these masteries, so I think fairly straightforward. We've given her more accuracy for Arena. I think if you're more worried about Fire Knight and Hydra, War Master could be good. So I'm not super set on this. Like, honestly, she might have enough accuracy anyway to not need Eagle Eye. In which case I'd still do the support tree pretty much the same, but ditch Eagle Eye and then go down the offense tree to grab War Master to up our damage against bosses. Let's see her in action. That's actually enough talking. Let's see her in action. So what I did, very simply, is I put her into, this is my Fire Knight Hard 6 team. I usually use Farrakhan the Fat in this team, okay? I usually use Farrakhan the Fat. I've replaced him with Lady Mikage. Now here's the thing. Let's click play. Let's watch this run. On the one hand, if Farrakhan the Fat works and he's an epic, why do we need Lady Mikage? That's a great question. For this specific team and this specific build, you obviously don't need her. But what I want to show you is that she does some things really, really well. So for example, what's she going to do in this team? The increased attack that she's bringing in is actually quite useful for champions like Razelvarg, Stag Knight, and Coldheart, who are going to be crit capped anyway. And then particularly, I think when we get to Wave 2, this is where I think she has the potential to be really cool. So if I click auto with my setup, make her metamorph, and bam, she goes straight in with the AoE stun and turn meter pushback. I think that is pretty sick, right? And what we're going to do, so we're able to use her ally attack on Wave 1, then just switch her over to Form 2, make her stay in Form 2, where she's doing all this turn meter control, right? She's doing turn meter control, she's putting out weaken, she's pushing back their turn, she's keeping, like, look at this, she's gone in with a stun again. At 310 speed for Fire Knight Hard 6, she's actually strong enough. She has so much turn meter control that she actually stunned them when they were still stunned from her first time. So I think with the right speed tune, she's easily going to be able to lock down Wave 2, use all her abilities in Form 2, because then we get to the boss. Razelvarg's actually faster because, you know, Razelvarg passive, it's a thing. She switches back to Form 1, everything's ready to go, and straight in with the ally attack. I think that is the potential of this champion. I'm only running Fire Knight Stage 6 here, but I think when you move into like Fire Knight Hard Stage 10, and if they ever introduce, which I think they almost definitely will, higher stages of Fire Knight Hard in the future, I think this is the champion that you very likely build around, because you can use all her moves on Wave 1, brilliant, then switch her into Form 2 on Wave 2 and lock them down. So for example, on Wave 2, normally there's, on Stage 10, there's a Riho Bone Spear, which is a big problem. she throws debuffs back and then cleanses the team. Well, Lady Mikage, she's going to be able to like either go in and do the buff strip weaken, get the weaken thrown back, come around to second turn, and then stun that Riho Bone Spear. We can actually try that out and see if that works. That should be really potent. Or she could throw out the stun and potentially get back. But just to show you, for instance, that's where I think this champion has massive potential for PvE. Using the two forms is actually so powerful for something like that. So yeah, for this team state, again, to reiterate, Farrakhan the Fat, he totally would have worked. It would have worked fine. However, she is bringing in a lot of interesting and unique stuff there. You could potentially put in a Shadowkin as well, someone like Creodan the Blue, who's doing freeze on his A1. Of course, there's always the potential in the future if they ever add, more Shadowkin. The more Shadowkin they add, the better it's going to be. So this is the setup. So for example, on wave 1, I just want her to always do Imperial Decree, but not to metamorph. I think she probably doesn't. A lot of these mythical champions don't seem to metamorph unless you tell them to. On wave 2, I want her to open with this metamorph, but do not metamorph back. I don't want her to use any of these skills in form 1. And what we'll actually do here, let's have her open with Doom of Yakai, but priority 1 on Skittering Death. Let's see if this works since Riho. Then we get to the boss. We make her open with this metamorph. Don't switch back to form 2. Just stay in form 1. Stay spamming the ally attack. Because for Fire Knight Hard, none of this turn meter pushback actually works. So that's basically what we do. So let's go. This won't work against the boss. Like, we will die. I just want to see how this works against Riho. So I'm just curious to get a feel for how much sort of speed. Like, is 300 speed plenty? More than enough? Like, could we do it with like 250 speed, for instance, to come in and actually trigger Riho passive and then lock her down with a stun before? So here we go. This Riho is normally a massive problem. We swap over. Oh, nuts. I actually did the stun. Well, actually, okay. Did I set that up wrong? Oh, you know what? I did. So here's the problem. I forgot about this. So it's technically not this is maybe bad design, right? So we've got Metamorph set as an opener, but also Doom of Yakai set as an opener. It's going to do the opener is whichever form she's in. So this is her opener. This would only be the opener if she was actually in this form. So what we actually need to do is actually redo this completely. We need to set Doom of Yakai, which is unfortunate, as priority 1, and Skittering Death is priority 2. So I think it'd actually be quite cool if you could set, after you metamorph, this is the priority, because, I might want to open with Doom of Yakai, but then keep prioritizing Skittering Death. That's not something you can actually do. And then let's disable this move right here. So yeah, okay. Let's go in again. But it looks like it should work just fine. In fact, from what I saw there, it probably would have worked as well. She stunned the Riho, but the 30% turn meter pushback, that seemed to happen anyway. But I think this will be safer, which is trigger the Riho passive with the weaken and then stun Riho. That seems like it's going to be the better way to do things. She does a decent amount of damage as well. And bearing in mind, we're doing this without War Master, which would also up our boss speed. So we come in, here we go, strip the stuff, Riho throws it back. And now we could be coming into trouble because Riho would be putting a massive heal out. Riho would be cleansing. It's all really bad. We come in, Skittering Death, bam. Turn meter pushback, they're stunned, they're locked down. Suddenly this wave is not a problem anymore. And I think that is the massive potential of this champion. That is the mythical aspect coming through big time. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what teams people are going to come up with to really maximize this. But it's just huge. It's so strong for getting through this sort of content. I'm just curious to see what happens here. We should basically all die. So she'll swap back and we'll do an ally attack, which is important because it will reduce the damage we're going to take. I think the boss will probably... We actually do take down his shield. We get decreased speed on. Oh, Newt's actually going to push back the turn meter. We're still not going to be fast enough. Yeah, the turn meter is still like full. So he is still going to absolutely clobber us and we will die because my team's not built for this. But I think she has a ton of potential here as well. So again, you could probably speed tune this in such a way to make it work. I think it could be really strong and you could potentially run her in like a reflex set or something. There's a lot you could do there. So I think she's very, very strong for that sort of content. Very impressive. Let's come over here. Let's see her. So, oh, cool. We've got some of the clan emblems. That's nice. So basically, I put in this sort of team. This is a team I think could work really well. What is the concept of this team? Let me show you. Concept of this team is my Arbiter's not super fast, right? So we could lose some speed races. That's okay. We come in, though, and in theory, Arbiter goes first, boosts us up with Turn Meter. Lady Mikage comes in second, right? She is going to open with her Metamorph, right? Flip over into Form 2, and then we should probably set these to Priority 2 and Priority 3. So she's going to hop over into Form 2, strip their buffs to increase accuracy, and then she's going to stun them. She'll do an A1, maybe a couple of A1s, whatever, and then she's going to flip back into Form 1. And then in Form 1, she'll throw in some ally attacks, which is kind of cool. And then we've got Sun Wukong as well. So the theory here as well is that because she's putting out increased accuracy, right? That means then that my Yumiko is going to come in with, what is it? 50% increase? So my Yumiko at 700 accuracy is going to have over 1,000 accuracy. Then Sun Wukong, he's going to be coming in with like 600-ish accuracy as well for doing his buff stealing, his buff stripping, etc. I think that's going to be a pretty powerful combo. But you do need to be very fast for this to work, right? You want her to be faster than you know. And if you wanted a more budget team, you could use Basher instead of Yumiko and just ensure that you land the lockout. So she comes in, strips everything, and then it's like, we actually killed him with Phantom Touch. That's funny. We killed Rotus with Phantom Touch. She's going to... did she do her stun? I wasn't paying attention. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. But again, she's got increased accuracy, so I think she's going to come in and do her stun. If I'm not wrong. Let's see. Yeah, here she goes. Comes in, stuns them all, pushes the turn meter back. Every time she takes a turn as well, she should push the turn meter back on someone a little bit. Let's see. She pushed the turn meter back on Sifi there, actually, which is pretty great. Then she's going to swap over, do the ally attack. And wow, like it's a pretty sick combo. This is the champion I think a ton of people are going to be using, right? If you are looking, then we've actually reset their cooldowns. So if you're using Yumiko, who actually resets your own cooldowns as well, yeah, it's gonna be really powerful. I mean, let's see it against this team. I'm curious. This is like a whole bunch of Empower champions. We're gonna be completely outgeared by Victor. He'd destroy me. I'm just curious to see how it works. We might get smashed, but this one just stood out as being like quite a tanky resistancy type team. So we come in. Look at that. We actually land all the stuff on his Mithrala. Victor's Mithrala, no problem. And then we've half killed them all. Now it would depend on will Wukong have enough. Oh, she's actually stripped her. Oh, because Yumiko reset. Oh, I didn't realize that. Yumiko reset everybody except Wukong. Wukong, unfortunately, going to die to Duchess, the ultimate killer. That's interesting. So she actually got a second attempt to strip Duchess. And that's a problem, actually. That is a problem with... Come on, take down Victor. No, she's going to res. No, Pepe Hans. Well, she's dead. Okay, and they're basically dead. Their damage is dead. We did it. We cracked that team pretty much thanks to her. Like, being able to lock out that Mithrala. Yeah, pretty huge. I don't know. Maybe he's not geared. They're quite a decent power. Polymorph, you can see, is a big problem for late game. How much Polymorph does Victor have? I didn't initially see him having that much. Like, he doesn't even have that much Polymorph. And she still got Polymorph twice. So that is going to be a problem, right? That's going to be a problem. But still, the fact we were able to do that... I mean, he must not have that much resistance to have Empowered Champions and player power that's that low. But still, it's kind of nuts. We'd probably be outsped by these teams. I don't want to do any speed fight because we'd probably lose. I mean, I don't know. Like, there's so many teams we could... Like, this one is quite... yeah, you get the gist of this team. Let's see. We might get outsped here, but it's not a speed team, so we should be able to cut in. But there is that, I was mentioning that, there is that difficulty that we can't, like, I would prefer to probably only buff strip once when we switch form. Now, that is something we can do if we manual it, right? I can come in, manual, I can strip their buffs. Okay, never mind, she got turned into a sheep this time. That's okay, strip their buffs, and then I can come in, and this is going to hit Ultimate Death Knight anyway. Turned him into a sheep. Everyone's a sheep. That didn't quite... Let's redo that so we can show what I was trying to talk about. Go again. Hopefully we actually... It would be bad if we crit the Ultimate Death Knight. Hopefully that doesn't happen. What I want to show is that you can't set up the presets to, like, open with her buff strip, but then not do it again. Right? Because the opener has to be her form transition into it. So with a reset champ like Yumiko or with Kaimar, you kind of, it works super well on manual. It will work super well for live arena. Okay, good. No sheep. That's good. Lock him out. Good. For the sake of seeing this, let's just A1 with Wukong. Give him a love tap. Okay, would have been fine anyway. Then just as if we were going on auto. So if we were on auto here, right, it wouldn't be possible. If we set Skittering Death as A1 as priority 1, she would do that when we transformed. She wouldn't do the increase accuracy buff strip. If we set increase accuracy buff strip as priority 1, she's going to do it twice, which is not ideal. What we actually want to do is this. So it works super well on manual. I mean, it gets you polymorph straight away, right? Slight bummer. Will we do? Oh wow, Trunda, one hit of her A1 was more than enough. That's actually quite funny. Yeah, for the sake of some turn meter, let's revive him. It's okay. And then we can come in and just hit Emic. Probably should be careful about the polymorph or whatever. Push Trunda back a bit. And then let's win this fight. Just for the sake of it. But yeah, so this should probably kill all of them. Not all of them, most of them though. So let's see. What? Okay. Let's just hit Emic. Let's let her revive. I just want to test this out as well in terms of her stuff. So she's going to come in. Okay, and this actually works out pretty well. We might have got some... Did we get some cooldown reduction there? Or no, because we reset. But yeah, that actually works pretty well. So you can come in with a Yumiko or a Kaimar. But definitely with Yumiko, it's a pretty broken combo. Buff strip turn 1, then stun them. Yumiko would reset you, so your buff strip is back, and then you can switch back. So you never need to do her A1, though you could if you wanted, but you can just like alternate between this. So we can just go, yeah, none of that, thanks very much. Let's push you back, right? So let's put this out just for polymorph. He can actually come in and probably just slam them. Okay, and they're dead, right? And then if we go full auto, she should transform back into her ally attacks. That's actually, for like live arena, that's a super sick combo. That's actually super crazy good. And also with Yumiko, oh no, he's gonna kill him? No, we're good. If she A1s, it's gonna bring in Yumiko for an ally attack. That's a pretty cool thing. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff going on there. But basically, is this fusion worth doing? Absolutely yes. I think this is, if there's ever, I think this is likely to be then the structure. And it makes sense, actually, to me, for a mythical fusion. Because, you know, for a legendary fusion, it's 4 epics. 4 epics for a mythical seems way too easy, doesn't it? For a mythical fusion. 4 legendaries for a mythical fusion seems like way too much. I think 2 legendaries, like 2 mediocre early game focused legendaries plus 2 whatever epics going into it is cool. These are existing champions, so a lot of you are probably going to be able to fuse her today and get her going. As you can see from my account, I cannot. I don't have Weregrin or these. I don't have Kira. I don't have enough. I don't have I Love You, Sinya. And I don't have, what's it, Clive? I don't know. What do the HH gaming guys call them? I don't know. I don't have them. But yeah, a lot of you will get her today, and I think she looks great. She's got a ton of potential. I just want to give a shout out. I haven't tested her in Hydra yet. I want to give a big shout out, though, to my boy MTG Jedi, who threw this team into Brutal, got 355 million. The particular combo here being Michinaki, right? Michinaki is a Shadowkin. That's insanely good for Hydra. Her A1 is bringing him in, and all the ally attacks, like, that is super sick. And she, in this team, she's bringing you buff extension, so you're gonna have super buff coverage with these champs. She brings increased attack, which is really good for Shamael. He's doing great damage. The ally attack is pretty great. So like, there's a whole bunch of stuff happening there that I think is pretty cool. So initial showcase of Lady Mikage. What do I think? Honestly, big thumbs up. I think she's amazing. Her A1 is, her first form is brilliant. Her second form is brilliant. They both, by the way, have the same base stats, right? Form 1, Form 2, the base stats are the same. They're incredibly high, by the way. 115 base speed is really strong, and she's tanky. She is, frankly, gonna be extremely useful. Super duper useful. So yeah, initial showcase, initial look. He looks brilliant. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see y'all next time. Goodbye.